Welcome to Real Estate Investing Abundance, the show for busy, fulfilled professionals like you to learn how to develop financial independence built on solid, passive real estate investments. Now, here is your host, Dr. Alan Lomax.
Hello, enlightened investors. I'm your host, Dr. Alan Lomax. It's a pleasure to be with you. Our guest today is a real estate broker, real estate investor, a veteran, a West Point graduate. Gervon Simon is a self-starter in both real estate as an agent and an investor. He runs a team of agents and combines to invest in real estate while helping others to do the same. So, Gervon, start us off and tell us a memorable experience that brought you where you are today.
I think a memorable experience for me is, and it's a real formative experience, just my upbringing and my background. I was born and raised not raised, but I was born in the projects. I was raised in a low-income environment. So, I never had a whole lot of money, never had a whole lot of means, but I had a lot of values instilled in me. And I was also a lifelong athlete. So where I come from, really the only way to quote unquote make it out is through sports. Getting a scholarship opportunity to go play sports, which I was able to do playing football. I ended up going to West Point to play football. I had other scholarship opportunities as well, but I ultimately ended up on West Point, where I graduated from. And that's really created so much drive. Is just that combination of, understanding that I wanted and needed more, and also, how to actually work hard and work towards goals through playing sports my entire life. I mean, it directly translated to business and a real estate investment.
Yeah. Well, where did those values come from?
I think just my family, to be honest. My dad was out of town, or didn't live in my hometown pretty much my entire life. But his side of the family was around a lot. Very Christian family. I had a lot of strong values, and I had the blessing to be able to be raised by both my mother and by his side of the family. And, it really kind of was a village whenever I was being brought up.
Mm-hmm. It's nice to have those villages. And I think we forget that a lot of times in our individualistic and kind of a singular culture. But it's good you had that background there, and it certainly has made a big difference for you, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Well, start us off by sharing how it is that you think that anyone can get started in real estate investing and build a portfolio one property at a time, and then begin to leverage the equity as that portfolio grows.
Yeah. So, I think it's pretty simple. I always tell people the cheapest and easiest way to buy property in America is, first-time home buyer loans or just even primary residence loans. It doesn't even have to be first-time home buyer loans. So, first, if you're not a veteran, you can go out and utilize your FHA loan, 3.5% down, relatively competitive and good interest rate. You just have PMI, just to get your foot in the door, identify a property that will be a good investment property down the line. You get into it, and that's the most important thing, is acquiring the asset. 12 months, you have to intend to live in it for 12 months. 12 months later, you can either refinance out of FHA if you have enough equity and interest rates make sense to do so. If not, instead of using FHA loan again, you can actually use a low down conventional. It can be as low as, there's some banks that do 0%, but most of them are 3 to 5% minimum. And so, you don't have to have that 20% down payment, but, if you do that a few years in a row, by the time you hit 3-4 properties, that first and second property, you'll have a lot of equity. And depending on how it's performing and the amount of equity you have, you can kind of make a decision. Hey, do I want to hold on to this and just keep it as a rental, or potentially just 1031 exchange it into a bigger multifamily property that's going to provide more cash flow and a better asset for you?
How do you go about focusing on your goals and what it is that you want to do in life by actually essentially looking backwards as you plan?
It's kind of hard to say. I think, for me, right now, I'm kind of in a weird spot where I'm trying to make a decision on what my next steps are going to be as I wait for equity to grow and I wait for certain time periods to hit. So, I definitely know the next kind of property I'm going to purchase. But I guess to answer your question, I think it's all about just looking inwards of what it is that I want. Financial freedom and stability is what I want. If something happens to me today, God forbid, I want my family to be okay. And I don't want my daughter or my wife or anyone in my family to, have to suffer or go without because of what happens to me. So just really focus on building cash flow and buying cash flowing properties. And for me, that's ultimately my driver. Mm-hmm. Now, the way in which you go about it is obviously it can vary. There's so many different approaches to doing it, whether it's investing through syndications with other agents or with other investors, or buying single family properties, buying multifamily, flipping, or doing the burst strategy. There's so many different ways to go about it. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I flipped a lot of houses and I got away with it. I started doing some more bursts, and now I'm trying to really just focus on what my next steps are going to be. And I'm really actually eyeing new construction, build to rent.
Okay. Yeah, that flipping, it always sounds so glamorous. There's a lot of work and a lot of risk, and it is not an equity builder. It's a job. And every single flip is, you're starting all over essentially from scratch each time. But you're into the burrs now. So I'm curious, you're in the Tacoma area, and I'm not real familiar with that real estate market, but I have a strong suspicion that it's really difficult to find cash flowing properties in the Tacoma area. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is. I'll tell a story of my first house I ever bought. So I did mention earlier VA loan. So if you're a veteran or active duty, you can use your VA loan. And that's what I did. I was in the Army, and I purchased my first house with my VA loan. Well, at the time, interest rates weren't the greatest. And whenever that 12 months came along, I did refinance down into a way better rate. But if I had put it up as a standard rental, I would have broken even every month. And nobody wants to rent and just break even. So I started to get creative. I decided I was going to Airbnb the house. So I started with Airbnb. My first ever set of guests, they caused a very big disturbance. Had police at my home at 3 a.m. With shots fired inside my home. So I didn't know, at that point, I didn't know what to do. The next month was going to be the first month where I would have 2 mortgage payments if I didn't have basically people renting on my space. Or I would have to pay out of pocket. So I was kind of put in a pinch, and I was so tired of the turnover already. And, that just very first incident left such a bad taste in my mouth. I decided to pivot, and I kept it as a furnished rental, but I decided to move towards medium term rentals, aka travel nurses. So I rent my properties out to travel nurses. A lot more stability, way less turnover than Airbnb, but more than a standard lease. And it's been wonderful since then.
Yeah, I would think traveling nurses would be a good clientele. Generally speaking, you're going to expect them to be fairly responsible citizens. Yeah, that would be. When was this? I know in 2020 and clear up even to today that the traveling nurse industry has exploded primarily because of COVID. When did you start doing that?
This happened that was March 2020 when that happened.
Okay.
That's when I put it up. It was actually like it was like March 2nd or March 3rd that April. It was like April 2nd, April 3rd, something along those lines. That's whenever it all happened. And
well, it's a good move. On the ball with
perfect timing.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
It's difficult to time the market, but that was definitely an excellent move there.
I think, sorry to cut you off, I have a philosophy that, everything's going to work out how it's supposed to. God always has a plan. But for me, I think whether you believe in God or not and believe in that, it's the more actions you take, the more steps forward you take, the luckier you're going to get.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. Just sitting on your butt doesn't bring much good luck. Well, you're not only an investor, you're a realtor, which is a full-time job if you're really serious about that. And at the same time, you're building a real estate investment portfolio and business. So how are you able to manage both your full-time realtor job and your investment portfolios?
I just leverage other people. I'm a realtor, but I have a team. I focus on generating business. I focus on and I minimize the amount of admin work I have. I have an admin. I have 2 agents that also, they handle all my buyers. So I handle the listings. I negotiate the listings. I do those solely by myself with the help of my assistant, my team assistant. And then as far as the buyers, every single person that wants to buy, I pretty much pair them up with one of my agents and they take the head on that. And then, we pretty much split the commission after that. So that's my model for being able to leverage myself to the point to where I can accomplish more. I'm using other people and creating opportunities and adding value in that sense. And then as far as the investment side, everything for me has to be hired out. I don't manage my properties. I have a property manager. I don't do my own flips. I don't, if I'm doing a rehab or renovation, I have my contractor and I might, make decisions, but I'm not the one who's swinging the hammer. I think, don't get me wrong, you can save money. But for me, I personally don't believe that it's in my highest and best use to be doing that. I'd rather pay an extra couple $1,000s on a rehab project than for me to save a couple bucks, but, know that I lost out on opportunities and in my daytime or based on my business.
Yeah, it may save you money, but it rarely is going to save you time. And also,
Exactly.
if you've got a good contractor, they've developed a skill set that you as a part-timer probably never will have. So
100%.
it is swinging that hammer yourself can be a losing proposition.
I couldn't agree more.
Oh, well, you say that we need to be honest with ourselves and be honest about our skill set and what our values and what is it that we have to offer others. And so how do we focus on that and at the same time add value, not just for ourselves, but for others as well?
I think it just depends, where your skill set is and where you can add value to others. I recognized early on that I had a very good understanding of real estate before I became a realtor. Whenever I was really learning and understanding real estate investing, and that's what I fell in love with first. And so when I was trying to figure out what I was going to do on the outside of the Army, actually while I was still in the Army, I realized that, hey, I can actually help people here. And so I took my shot at it. And I don't want to say an instant success because it took a lot of work, but quicker than normal, I had a lot of success. And I think there's multiple reasons why that happened. But I think, the biggest one is, like I said, I just understood real estate really well and I was truly able to help people. And so that's, I can only really speak from my experience, but other people, I'd say same thing. It doesn't always have to be real estate. It doesn't have to be being an agent. There's other jobs within real estate, but even outside of that, I think anybody can build a portfolio. But if you want to talk about adding value, talk about what your skill sets are and look at it from a position of giving, whether you open a business or even if you're just going out looking for a job to be an employee, add an opportunity to an employer into their business.
You were focusing up on how it is that you can add value through your skill sets and through honesty in terms of your values. In terms of property acquisition and building equity in your portfolio, we have to look, I think, actually beyond those skill sets and beyond those values in terms of actually adding value to the bottom line of the properties. What are some ways and means that you go about doing that?
I think just understanding what the property is, what the property has to offer, and what you can do to the property. Speaking from my flip experience, I really look at what's the function of the layout. Can I add maybe a half bathroom somewhere? Can I, where do I need to make some upgrades? Where can I pull back on for the rehab? Where can I add, go a little bit more expensive on the rehab to really add value to the property and make it more enticing to potential buyers? Depending on where you're at, really understanding zoning for your properties and what you can do on a lot and what you can do on a property, whether it's a tear down, a new build, whether it's a house that's existing that you can add an accessory dwelling unit, which is becoming very popular around the country and here in Tacoma as well. That's kind of what I would say is just really understand the full picture when you're looking at a property. You can buy a house with the FHA loan, and if you really understand the zoning, even if you bought it with an FHA loan, you can now take a look at it and be like, well, maybe because of the size of the lot and the zoning and the location, I can tear down a single family house down the line, and build 6 townhouses on it. That's something that happens here all the time. So that's just something that I would encourage others to take a look at and just really understand take a look at the full picture, not just a house. Oftentimes when you're buying a house on the market, it's already at its max capacity or its highest and best use. But if you're looking at value add opportunities, even if they are at the highest and best use for that house, that doesn't mean that you can't do more to the lot because of the zoning. And so just that's kind of what I would recommend people to look at is just understand the full picture so that you can make a decision accordingly.
Good suggestion there. Well, you talk about working with the team and building a team. One of the biggest problems, I think, that a lot of people, particularly entrepreneurs, they are confident in their abilities, but it's difficult to give up responsibility to others. How do you go about doing that?
Well, I'm definitely not the poster child for that. I think it just takes time and trust and making sure that somebody fully understands. I've gotten a lot better throughout the last year and a half of being able to truly give up responsibility and roles and truly be able to delegate. But it just takes time and trust and understanding that there may be nobody else that can do this task as well as you. But if it can get done at a 75% effectiveness of what you could do, it allows you to have time to go do something else that'll allow you to actually generate more income. Go do it. It's so crazy. There's a stat out there, and I saw it myself. I really did. There's a stat out there. I think Tom Ferry put it out. He's a real estate agent coach. He just said, it's oftentimes people increase their income and take home more money when they make more hires, intelligent hires, so specifically when it comes to assistant. And I can attest to that. Last year, I didn't delegate as much as I should have. I made almost the exact same I made the year before, minus the salary. This year, I'm on pace to well surpass that, because towards the end of last year and all of this year, I've given so much more responsibility up to my agents and to my assistant. And it's allowed me to really focus on generating more business and doing what I do best. And now I'm like, wow, I'm giving up commissions or portions of commissions, and I'm paying a salary. And my profit loss statement is going to increase this year, because I was able to actually focus on money generating activities.
Well, sounds like a smart move. Not always easy to see
It's not.
the end results of that. First of all, there's giving up that responsibility. The other aspect of that is oftentimes paying a salary to somebody else to do things that you've been doing. It takes a leap of faith, as well as the ability to trust others that they can actually do the job and do it correctly there. What is it that you do these days to promote your own growth and development?
Well, one thing I'm trying to do is just put my name out there more. I mean, that's why we're here now. I think I have a cool story. I enjoy public speaking. I enjoy talking and interacting with other people, and I want to expand my reach as much as possible. So I'm trying to get featured on more podcasts, trying to do more of that stuff. As far as my business, or just promoting myself in general, I just am who I am on Instagram and social media. I don't fake or flaunt or anything. I am 100% me. You can go on my Instagram, you'll see I post about my daughter, I post about my wife. It's not all real estate. I do have a lot of real estate on there, but I don't, it's not all real estate. And but you'll get personal life. I'm a football enthusiast, play college football. I'm in a football family. So I love it. I love sports. I love athletics. I love golf. You'll see me post about 10 different things in one day, 10 different topics in one day, and then none of them are related to one another. But I think there's a level of authenticity that truly attracts other people. And honestly, my following has grown exponentially through the years, and I think it's just because of that.
Gervon, you've got a lot to offer, so tell our viewers and listeners specifically what you do in your brokerage and what you can do to help others, and how it is that they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, so there's a few ways, or a few things. So I have a national network of brokers, of top brokers and agents that I trust personally. And, I never refer anybody out to somebody who I wouldn't trust to take care of them. So I have a large number of brokers in many different states that can help, no matter who needs help anywhere in the U.S. And also included in that also, I think I have a pretty good mind, especially with regards to real estate and being able to see things from a different lens. So, and I think a lot of people do. It's always good to have different opinions. So with that being said, if anybody would like to connect with me or set up a time for a 30-minute call, I provided a link to set up a meeting on my website with my Calendly link. So, whoever is out there that wants to connect, bounce some ideas off me, maybe even get put in touch with an agent or market, I'd love the opportunity to chat with you. I'm going to discuss, the way forward and what could be, how I can best help you in that process.
Well, wonderful. Well, Gervon, just one last question. What was your greatest setback in life, and how did you overcome that?
Man, it's tough. I've had some setbacks. I think one really big setback in life is when I was playing college football my freshman year. I tore my ACL it was a spring game with 4 minutes left in the game going into my sophomore year. At that point, I was vying for a position, honestly, in a rotation, potentially even becoming a starter. And I tore my ACL, missed my whole sophomore season, and it really derailed my entire career. That was the first chance I had to impress my coaches, the new set of coaches that I just got hired on at my college. And, they had their recruits and everything. And so just kind of in the back of my mind, knowing that the opportunities from then on out would be limited. But just staying the course, still sticking with it and just not being a quitter. I think that's something that really helped me and informed me today. It's another formative experience that I've had. And it was a big setback emotionally and physically. And, without it, I don't know if I'd be who I am today.
So were you able to pick up the football career after your sophomore year, or with the that take you out?
Yeah, no. So I stayed on the team. I kept continuing to play. I actually contemplated quitting. I was on the verge of quitting. My junior, after my spring football, my junior spring practices, my sophomore year going into my junior year. I wasn't physically 100% where I was beforehand. I was close, but I wasn't, and I was a little heavy just because I was coming off that injury and not being able to do much for quite a few months. And then I also I didn't feel as though I was getting the opportunity that I should have. And so I almost quit, but I didn't. I decided not to. I actually was able to get some playing time and contribute to the team my junior, or especially my senior year, more my senior year than my junior year. I got hurt again my junior year, but yeah, so I was able to still stay on the team. We won a bowl game my senior year. I beat Navy. We beat Navy for the first time in 14 years, which is a big rivalry. So that was just such a special experience that, like I said, it paid off just sticking around and continuing to stay the course. And, despite the setback,
Well, Gervon, it's been a pleasure having you today and enjoyed meeting you. Thank you for being on our show today. Enlightened Investors, it has been a pleasure being with you once again. I look forward to being with you in our next episode.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, and it's been a blast.
Thank you for tuning in to Real Estate Investing Abundance, brought to you by Steve Talker Capital, a company working for passionate professionals like you to develop financial independence built on solid, passive real estate investments. As part of our efforts to make the world a better place, Steve Talker Capital contributes to activities and organizations committed to better understand the equine. These endeavors attempt to enhance the human treatment of horses worldwide. Steve Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures, great and small, flourish abundantly. For resources to develop your financial independence, connect with us at stevetalker.com.